Sometimes reading those stories of like the Sadducees and the silly questions they ask to trip people up is just like comical. Like I was just like, there's got to be some good memes about that. So in our readings today, we essentially have two sets of people. Those concerned with the earthly things and those concerned with the spiritual things. And this is a common dichotomy in the stories of our faith and can sometimes oversimplify the call of our faith. There's the bad guys concerned with the earthly things and the good guys that focus on God. And if that's all we see in today's gospel, then the message is easy. Don't be like the Sadducees or the rulers with the brothers in the first reading. Be strong in your faith, and you can endure all things, even the worst imaginable things, torture and death. But the danger of taking that message at face value is that once again, our lives can become an extension of this basic human tendency or sentiment that we have. Be strong in your convictions, be faithful, and you'll get your reward. It's just another type of way of saying, just pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, get it together, and God will then reward you. But if we put ourselves in the Sadducees' feet instead of immediately rejecting their faithlessness, we might find that we have much more in common with them. Because what they're really asking of Jesus, and what all of our scriptures are kind of getting at today, is what happens after we die? And I imagine each of us has entertained that question probably more than once in our lives. If Jesus walked through these doors, I have a decent list of questions I'd ask him, but definitely one of them would be, what happens? If the resurrection happens, what does that mean? Where are all the people left? Where is this life? What about the physicalness of our bodies? Does that just go away, even though that's the only way we kind of know and live in this world? What does it mean for us and our tenuous lives? These are important questions to ask, and our struggle with them does not mean a lack of faith or that we are more like the Sadducees than Jesus or the brothers in the first reading. They are good, painful questions that draw us not to ask more about ourselves or our nature or what we should and shouldn't do, but to ask more about understanding who God is, to dare to take one more step into the mystery of God. The gospel concludes with this line: "They can no longer die, for they are like angels. They are the children of God, because they are the ones who will rise. That the dead will rise, even Moses, known in the passage, when he called the God of Abraham, of Isaac, of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. In God all are alive." God is not the God of dead, but of the living, and in God all are alive. This is a statement too big for us to always hold on to, but this is what the gospel reveals, not about us, but about God. This deep truth that each and every one of us is pronounced alive by God. The main character of our stories today is not us and our faithfulness or our lack of faith. Rather, it's about the power and beauty and love of God. In God we live, and we will always live. And we live because of who God is, and that is love. It is this deep, all-encompassing love of God where our lives find root, sustenance, and immortality. I read a beautiful reflection this week that used the relationship of trees to the earth to explain our relationship with God. That the nutrient earth is what brings forth the life of the tree. It's the love of the Mother Earth that all life is birthed. Life exists because of the earth. And so it is with each and every one of us that we grow out of the love of God. Our life is rooted in God's love. Life comes from that love, it grows, it sustains, and it ultimately returns to that love. Another quote that gets to the same point is, "Love is a force much deeper than life. When life ceases, love stays. It becomes the home, the embracing arms that enfold us. Love is the substance, life is the outgrowth." This is the promise of our gospel, the promise of our God. In God, all are alive because life, all of life, is rooted in God's love, and that life never stops. It just dwells more and more deeply within God's love. And this is a message we all need, but especially as we enter into these winter months, when there's more twilight than sunlight, when our church calendar starts to delve into the mystery of Christ coming among us, and when our world continues to swell from fear and violence. We need to take refuge in the promise of God that our life in the here and now and beyond will always be sustained by God's love. I'd like to read you just a short reflection from the author Joy Sawyer in her reflection about what happens at the end of life. When you move wordlessly from one life into another, you will bring all of us who have ever declared our love with our hearts or with our mouths. We walk with you arm in arm. Instead of leaving us at the gate, you will find that we all enter with you. We all see a new maple, a bush on fire, a tiny sparrow perched on a flat rock. You cannot leave us, and we cannot leave you. Though you have made your entrance into a new home, our old homes are full of the things you loved. You live on in mantles, in journals, on a recipe card splattered with sugar cookie dough. When night comes, we are certain you hear our voices, low and full on brick patios, ice cubes swirling in our paper cups. Nothing is nearer than love itself. Even when this life has carefully tucked you in, closed your bedroom window, and whispered its soft goodnight. We are only steps away from you, through the clear glass, on the other side of the pane. We listen carefully. Underneath the crickets and the murmur of twilight, we still hear you breathing, as steady as the slow dance that began among us, underneath the patient stars. For those of us on this side of the window pane, we can take reassurance that as we face our own mortality, as we journey with our loved ones in their mortality, we are called to the aliveness of God and all the beloved around us. This life, the love that is calling even in the darkest and coldest nights, is always with us. In the twinkling of a star, in the clouds' movement, in the rustle of leaves, and those first snowflakes, God's life stirs, and so does ours, and so does our beloveds who have gone before us. We are not alone, but are always traveling together in that aliveness of God. And so as we step into this next week and enter into this winter season, I hope that we can take time to notice that life, that love that's all around us.